All right, let's dive into one of the most unbelievable financial crimes in recent memory. Seriously, this is a story that's got everything. Hollywood stars, super yachts, and a scam so over the top, it feels like it was ripped straight out of a movie. We're talking about the 1MDB heist and the mastermind behind it all.
And here he is. Meet the man at the center of it all, a Malaysian financier named Jho Low. To the rest of the world, he was this billionaire playboy, throwing some of the most insane parties you could ever imagine. They even had a nickname for him, the Asian Great Gatsby. But, behind all the glamour and the celebrity photos, something much, much darker was going on.
Because that whole lifestyle, it was paid for with this. $4.5 billion. That's the absolutely staggering amount of money that was straight up stolen from a Malaysian state development fund. This wasn't his money. It was money that belonged to the people of Malaysia.
So where did all that cash actually go? Well, it definitely didn't go into some boring retirement fund. We're talking massive parties with Leonardo DiCaprio. It was used to fund the movie The Wolf of Wall Street. Yes, you heard that right. And then there were the super yachts, priceless works of art, you name it. It was a global shopping spree on an epic scale, all on someone else's dime.
Okay, so to really get how big of a deal this is, we have to understand where the money came from. It came from a fund called the One Malaysia Development Berhad, or just 1MDB for short, and its whole purpose was pretty much the exact opposite of throwing Hollywood parties. Let's be super clear on what 1MDB was supposed to be. It was a sovereign wealth fund. Basically, the idea was for the government to invest in huge projects. Think green energy, tourism, infrastructure, stuff that would create jobs and actually help the country's economy. Its mission was, a good one, to serve the Malaysian people.
And this right here just lays out the whole scandal perfectly. On one side, you have the promise, use the people's money to build a better future for them. And on the other side, you have the reality. That exact same money was being used like a personal ATM to fund one guy's crazy fantasy lifestyle. The contrast is just wow.
So the big question, how on earth do you do it? How do you make billions of dollars just vanish from a government fund and pop up in your own bank account? Well, the whole scheme was actually based on a surprisingly simple, but pretty slick, four-step process. Here's the playbook. First, 1MDB would raise billions of dollars by selling bonds, which is kind of like taking out massive loans. But then, and this is the key part, instead of that money going to projects in Malaysia, huge chunks of it were immediately funneled into this giant maze of offshore shell companies. Companies that looked legit, but were secretly controlled by Jho Low. From there, it was easy. Wire the money into personal accounts and let the party begin.
And that right there brings us to maybe the biggest, most important question of all. This wasn't some tiny accounting error. We're talking billions with a B just vanishing into thin air. How could a fraud this huge happen without a single alarm bell going off somewhere in the global financial system?
Well, the really uncomfortable answer is that Jho Low didn't do this alone. Not by a long shot. He had help. This wasn't just the crime of one man. It was a total, catastrophic failure of the very systems that are supposed to stop this exact kind of thing from happening.
Yep, major global banks were right in the middle of it. Goldman Sachs, for example, helped 1MD raise more than $6 billion, and they made hundreds of millions in fees for it, a decision that later cost them billions in fines. All the complicated transactions, the shell companies, all the red flags, they were either missed or worse, they were ignored. The gatekeepers just weren't at the gate. So when you look back at all the photos from the parties and read the headlines about the yachts, it's really easy to get caught up in the spectacle of it all. But behind that shiny illusion is a pretty grim reality about what was actually lost and who really paid the price.
Just think about the sheer irony for a second. Money that was stolen from the people of Malaysia was used to produce The Wolf of Wall Street, a movie that is all about financial crime and living large. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's a fraud so meta, it's almost unbelievable. Life didn't just imitate art here. Stolen money actually paid for the art.
When it's all said and done, the 1MDB story isn't really just about Jho Low. Sure, he was the architect. But with this whole heist really exposed, with these deep, deep cracks in the global financial system itself, the fallout didn't just lead to investigations all over the world. It actually helped bring down a government in Malaysia. And it leaves us with this really important question. In a world that runs on financial illusion, what's the real cost when the people in charge just decide to look the other way?